How's it going, everybody? It's going to be the 5th and final entry into the best level upgrades for Mutant and Mystic. Today, I'll be joined by the big brain Dulom. You're going to want to make sure you follow this new content creator. He is super knowledgeable about the game, and he has, in my opinion, one of the most entertaining segments on his channel, which is Who Wants to Be an MSFer? If it sounds like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, it's because that's what it's like. And he has various trivia questions, which is just super entertaining. It's such a good hang out on Twitch. He's going to tell you all the details about that in this video. Tonight is going to be with Pathfinder on Twitch. Don't miss that. And make sure you follow this new great content creator. Let's get into it. And as promised, we're here with Regis Philman himself, the band one. It's Dulom. How's it going, brother? Good morning to you.
Oh, it's going great. Good morning, sir.
All right, before we jump into this, I just want to give a quick shout out to your morning streams, which are a huge source of entertainment for everybody, because that's like an untapped market right now, and you are a very entertaining guy, so I want to push everybody there for your morning coffee, along with Run 7's recap. You want to get some Crucible Rage in, if he runs across a Gamma, go check out Dulom.
Why, man? Come on. Come on. The wound's still fresh.
I had to do it. Purple Sticky nearly bailed you out, but you got lucky.
Yeah, I was so close.
All right, well, here, let's get into this. Give me your top 10 mutants to level up during this event. Obviously, this is your list in front of me right now. You see, I'm actually doing this right now. I have them all at 96. So why don't you walk me through your picks, and we'll talk a little bit about each character.
Yeah. So we'll go in reverse order. We'll start with Forge, and then we'll go up from there. Forge is obviously the healer of a raid team. You want the healer to be big. He's nuts in Cosmic Crucible right now as well, which I don't know if that's going to last to next season. It might, honestly. If it does, then this is a no-brainer pick. But just for raids, keeping the healer alive is paramount, because he heals 5% on anybody's turn, enemy or friendly. So that 5%, the bigger his stats are, the more impactful that 5% is. His cooldowns are long, so he's not the best for Dark Dimension, but in raids, he's an absolute powerhouse. And in Cosmic Crucible, if they keep a mutant room, you're going to put Extreme in here. So investing in them is going to be absolutely paramount and necessary to do well in Cosmic Crucible for sure.
Yeah, I could agree more, especially because the stats that are getting multiplied the most are health, damage, and armor. Well, he doesn't really care about that damage front, but for the health and the armor, keeping him alive more, his health means he's going to heal more, his armor means it's going to be trickier to get him down. He is the primary target on the team to take out. So having him even bigger is going to help, and yeah, that extra life that he's giving on any turn, he's got the Silver Surfer effect, but for his entire team. It's crazy, right?
And he's got the bonus. He gets what, 25% bonus health from Gambit, and then 60% from Nightcrawler. So like he's got almost an extra 100% health. So if you see a 2 million Forge, it's really a 4 million Forge. He's nuts. He's nuts.
He's the bane of my existence. And like you said, the Crucible rooms right now heavily favor the style this team plays. They get dodges, puts them in stealth, or it cleanses them unless they have trauma. So it's kind of hard to get them under control. And because of all that extra life, you can't really nuke anybody without having to control them first. I'll be interested to see what the next Crucible season holds, which is 2 weeks away. But I think this team is good enough that regardless, they're going to either be used on offense or defense, one way or the other.
Absolutely.
All right, next.
Next up, Firestar. So Firestar, the only mutant new warrior here. I feel like she's probably the second best on the team, honestly. Her ultimate alone is one of the best abilities in Cosmic Crucible, just because of all the bleeds it does, all the negative effects, the trauma. Like her ult is absolutely incredible. And like when you have a massive Firestar, and then putting Striker on her too with the bleeds, she deletes people. Deletes people. Her passive also hits for like 400 or 500k when she's fully built out, which is nuts because it's an out of turn damage, so it's kind of like a Kestrel. I think she's one of the linchpins of the team, honestly. I mean, we drop Dagger when we're using Echo instead, so like she's staying on the team pretty much no matter what. And then Deathpool being able to spread those bleeds as well. And Deathpool is a striker. Those bleeds, they usually don't survive from that. So Firestar, I feel like, is one of the linchpins of that team. And if New Warriors stays good for next Cosmic Crucible season, then they absolutely deserve the levels for sure.
Yeah, I could agree with the worst part about New Warriors is that the room rules this season, with the exception of Stage 1, they neutered the New Warrior team. because they're all heroes,
Yeah.
so they didn't get defense down in stage 6. The dodges were forcing the New Warriors to hit bad targets in stage 4. In stage 3, there's just characters when they have their ultimates, they completely counter the New Warrior team. So there was nothing really good to use New Warriors with this season once the Extreme team came out. But next season, you never know what's going to happen. We could have a Mystic room. We could have a room where debuffs get multiplied. We could have a room where the buffs you get on spawn get multiplied, so we're spawning in with like a billion dodges. Or maybe everyone can ult turn 1 and then dagger is good, even though there's a lot of counters when that happens.
Yeah.
But I couldn't agree more. Firestar with that ultimate, putting out those bleeds as a striker. She's the source of trauma on the team as well, and then Deathpool following it up. Even a team like Secret Defenders just gets absolutely melted from that. So couldn't agree more on that one.
Next up, we got Sunspot. So Sunspot is a little bit of a random pick. This was probably like 10th on my list, honestly. But again, a raid team. He's super new. His stats are really good.
Oh, yeah.
Again, you're probably going to get good investment because raid teams are getting better investment outside of just raids now. And I feel like that's why they made the raids harder for us to build them up more and then get more value elsewhere. I didn't talk about it with Forge, but this team's nuts in war too.
Yep.
They are a tough war defense. Like, they are not easy unless you have like an underworld built to be able to take it out. This team is pretty good on defense, even without the mutant buffs from the season from war. And then the charge mechanic on Sunspot is also great. So a lot of people, if you leave Sunspot up and you're trying to clean up in Cosmic Crucible, he comes back in. If he has charges, he's giving everybody energy outside of raids too, and war. So it makes cleanups even harder, even with the exhaust.
Yep.
So he's really good. And then the extra damage when he has charges, inside raids it's 25% extra, and then with the charges it's 25%, and then it's like it's an extra 50% augmented damage, and then Cyclops is pinging, and then Forge is pinging, and then Gambit's pinging. Like, it's a lot of damage coming from this team.
Yeah, to your point, if he's fully charged, you leave that team up in War or Crucible, he's giving them damage, and all of a sudden you're walking into a Nightcrawler ult turn 1, maybe a Cyclops ult turn 1, a Gambit ult turn 1. You're like, well then, I guess I'll die. So I agree. And then a Sunspot himself, a lot of people don't know this yet because he's a newer character, so they have him at like 4 stars or so. At 7 stars, I have him. He demolishes teams, and with diamonds, it's even worse.
Really?
So yeah, I couldn't agree more. So the entire Extreme team was just kind of, you look at this list, you're like, okay, well, here we go, right?
It's extreme. Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. All right, next up.
Ms. Marvel Hardlight.
Okay.
So Ms. Marvel Hardlight, obviously the most armor in the game. She's the Apocalypse counter. So I feel like she's gonna be. I think she's gonna end up being plug and play, even when Secret Defenders are not really a thing anymore. I feel like she's gonna be plug and play to kind of mess with scroll counters. Because Apocalypse is the main counter to Skrull, right? Because that's the only way you can really kill Skrull effectively and make sure he's not coming back, because of that 60% max health. So I feel like her even plug and play on some teams to counter Apocalypse or make sure somebody has a disrupt. So it's going to add another layer of kind of RNG or another layer of a thought process to it to make sure you can shut down the hard light is going to be good. But her kit is pretty great, man. Like the rewinds on her ult are really cool. Her armor is nuts. The taunt on Empowered is really cool. I mean, her kit is awesome. Her speed is her only detriment, honestly. That's the only thing that makes this character not great. Obviously, when you pair him with the team, she gets an extra, I think, 10% per Secret Defender's ally. So her passive helps her in that way if you're for her turn 1. But obviously, Superior 6 are coming in and just absolutely destroying this team in room 1, and then if you have them in room 6 or anywhere else, New Warriors can kind of destroy this team, honestly, too.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I kind of envision a world where eventually Robbie Reyes and Black Cat kind of go off and do their own thing as a duo. And then Hardlight, Photon, even Doctor Strange come in just to fuel the Hardlight speed bar, get a rewind, and have 2 other characters that'll pop off along with the Photon and the Doctor Strange. I could see that happening just because of that speed issue we brought up. And it plays into both her weaknesses and her strengths. So when she gets that taunt up from her first ability, then it takes her forever to take a turn, and she's super beefy. Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. And I mean, we should eventually, we'll talk about it at the end, but there's like mutant reworks along the horizon. Who knows if that got shelved because of just how amazing the Extreme team is. Right. But there's a couple of these characters that would make it on the lower end. And we'll talk about that again. So let's continue on. We got Rogue next.
Yeah, we got Rogue. So the minion of the Horseman team,
Yeah.
as we've all kind of joked. But honestly, like she's made a resurgence lately with the Extreme team. Like she is nuts with the Extreme team in Cosmic Crucible. Absolutely nuts. So I feel like her always getting that 50%, that the reflexive taunt when somebody drops below 50% is always going to be something that makes her really good.
Yeah.
And then when she has Death Proof, I think she gets another 100% resistance, if I'm not mistaken. So she's a really, really good character, but she's just a punching bag, which is why she's not the best on offense. She's good to just throw in, like, just like Ms. Marvel Hardlight, that monkey wrench on defense that people have to take into account Rogue is standing there. And then the bigger Rogue gets, the more she's going to stand there and keep that taunt and not drop below 50% and go into stealth, and then you can target others. I'd say she's on the lower end of this top 10, but I think if she's useful in Cosmic Crucible, she will absolutely be one to take up to 96 if we find uses for her with a mutant room or a raid room with Extreme or whatever it might be. But her speed is absolutely nuts, so you have to make sure you get in front of her as well. Her special gives her turn meter, gives her, I think, 50% turn meter, and then her ult stuns and clears all buffs from the opposing team. Like, her kit is really, really good. Unfortunately, the team was just lackluster compared to the other three teams, which is why I think she gets a bad rap for so long.
Yeah, I agree with you. So her speed, it's right there on the cusp, right? Like 127 is not enough to be like, oh, she is the main focus of the team. Because at 127, we have lots of characters that get preloaded speed bar or speed on spawn. But when you pair a character like Nightcrawler with her, or like Sunspot and Cyclops, or like Forge, who's going to give a bunch of buffs, or Gambit, who's going to be pinging people, you got to deal with those people first. And it gives Rogue the time she needs to get that devastating special off, rewinding, giving herself speed, and then ulting very shortly after. I agree with this pick. I agree that she's definitely she was the weakest of the Horsemen until Extreme came out and just kind of threw Archangel in the trash can. But yeah, no, I agree with you. She would make the lower end of this list because she is, once she gets her taunt up, I don't think she'll need level 100 to be that super annoying character on the field. But as of right now, she makes the list for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's better mutants down the road, then obviously I feel like Rogue would start moving down, and Hardlight would start moving down because she's not used in Arena anymore. But as of right now, she's definitely on this list.
Yeah.
Next up, Omega Red. Dude, this guy can't fall out of the meta. He, like, no matter how much we try, he will not fall out. Like, we're still taking him to DD6 today, and he's like 2.5 years old. That's a testament to this kit. Like, his ult is devastating in war and outside of war. It rewinds in and outside of war, deals health, ability block, traumas inside of war. Like, this dude's kit is absolutely nuts. And then him as a striker, his basic attack does percentile damage too, so he's ripping through those tanks that you're just stuck behind. His special's awesome with the trauma and ability block. Even his, some people don't talk about, his animations are still cool to this day with his tentacles. Like, that's the one thing about this game that's always solid is the animations, and his are still top notch 2.5 years later. Like, I have no regrets taking him into G18. I will have no regrets putting diamonds on him. No regrets going to 100. He is plug and play to a T, and he will almost always be a good character for his controlling effects and massive damage he does.
Yeah, so to your point, that ultimate, it can end matches so quickly with a complete buff flip, an ability block, trauma in war, like you said, but the percentile damage, turn meter rewind. The problem with Omega Red comes on his speed, right, which is 120. We just talked about Rogue slow. And just like Rogue, if you put him on a team where he can get his first ability off, this gives him speed up, and all of a sudden he's ulting you out of nowhere, and you're like, didn't he just take a turn? And it's because he kind of sets himself up. So I agree with you. He seems to be creep-proof, at least for now, because of all of the health steal, like the percentage health steal. That's why back in the day we had the Omega Red Doom counter, right? Or sorry, Omega Red Doom versus Red Hulk counter, right? Which you probably should have used against the Gamma, but we'll move on to the next character.
Yep. Yeah, there it is. He's got to get another one in. Next up is Cyclops. So Cyclops is going to be an interesting one. He pings out of turn, which makes his damage extremely good, right? His charge mechanic going up to a max of 40 now also makes him really good. Like he's crit ulting for like 7 million in raids. Like he deletes an entire wave. Period. Like there's nothing standing after him. It's an entire wave is gone. Even in Cosmic Crucible, he's found some uses. He usually doesn't take a turn, but what a lot of people don't know is him being there. If someone dies, Forge will get 100% turn meter. So that kind of messes with a lot of counters if there's a smaller Nightcrawler or a smaller Sunspot, or you decide to focus down the Nightcrawler or whatever it is. Yep. Someone dies, Forge is at 90% turn meter. He gets a full 100%, which overcaps. So now he's at 190%. He clears that ability block by basicing, and then all of a sudden he's taking another turn, ulting, bringing back Cyclops. Everybody's got a bunch of buffs, and then you're pretty much done from there. So Cyclops enables the team, but his damage is also pretty awesome. The only thing I don't like about him, his special, applying taunt. What's the point? Sunspot's passive makes it so they can't gain taunt.
Yeah.
So I think his special is kind of dumb, honestly. I think it's counterintuitive to the kit. But even then, calling in the assist is still pretty cool, and doing the barrier I think was a nice addition to him to give a little bit more survivability. I wish his basic got upgraded a little bit with the rework, but it is what it is. We take what we can get. But his ult is just devastating, and then with Sunspot with the charges, just always having him full energy at the start of every node is nuts.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think they added the slow to his basic, but he never does it, right? And the fact that it doesn't apply on his retaliate, it doesn't do him any favors. The taunt, I think that was there before. It is weird they didn't take it out, though, right? So maybe, we talked about they kind of hinted X-Men reworks would come in. Maybe this will be usable then, but I think about like the teams that he's been on, right? The Uncanny team. That wouldn't really make sense. Maybe if he eventually ends up with like a Jubilee and he could find a way to go before her, he sets the highest damage target up or whatever. I mean, they'll change that and then she can stun them. I don't know. You're right. It's a very awkward place to put the taunt. It doesn't make much sense. I agree. Yeah. What I would say is his ultimate putting the slow out with Sunspot there on the first turn instead of him doing it on his second turn is a little bit of a threat. But yeah, the main thing that he brings to the team, like you talked about, is that speed bar to Forge. I think it's on Forge's kit.
Yeah, I think it's on Forge's kit. Yeah.
So him doing that kind of just elevates Forge to another level and is a little bit of a trap card, right? It's the Yu-Gi-Oh trap card of the team. I agree. I think Cyclops definitely deserves to be on this list. And I think like Captain America, like Wolverine, like Spider-Man, like Iron Man, like Hulk, he's always going to be in the conversations for a rework whenever the next X-Men team comes out.
Yeah, he's the leader, like everybody's always going to talk about him. And also for his ult, he clears revive, which is in every single game mode as well. That's not just raids. So that's pretty awesome too. I think that was a nice upgrade to his ult too.
I agree. All right, the next three are going to be really quick conversations. Let's go Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. All right, next Nightcrawler. So I mean, dude, Nightcrawler is nuts. I mean, like you can look at his stats at 2 Diamond G18 level 96. Like his health pool is absolutely ridiculous. Like 3.5 million health, 138k damage, putting out the exposed. He's tanky. Like he is absurdly tanky.
Yeah.
And then he gets the turn meter when he drops below 30%, and then he gets the dodges. Dude, you can't kill this guy. It is frustrating going against him. His special, giving the 20% turn meter to all X-Men allies when he has charge and he spawns with charge, is really, really awesome. In raids, it's an additional 20%. It's a turn 1 stun, and he goes really quick because he has speed up, and I think his speed is 120. So he spawns with speed up, and his speed's 120. So like, he's going really quick if you can't, get that speed up off of him or control him really quickly. But then you don't control Forge, and then Forge pops off. Like it's a catch-22. Like, who do you go for at that point? His ultimate also, when you get like stats on him, and if you take him to gear 18, even at like 4/4, his ultimate's hitting for like 1.4 million in Cosmic Crucible and raids. It's really, really good. I can only imagine how strong he is at the level you have. But I mean, he if he presses his ult, you've lost already. That's it. Your team's gone. He's a great character.
Yeah, at 500% piercing, it's just like, okay, you have armor, good for you, nerd. I got piercing damage. And then he's putting slow.
Everybody.
Yeah.
It hits everybody. Like, Archangel is 700% piercing on his ult. He's 500% piercing on everyone. Archangel's just one person, and he clears all positive effects, and the slow, and the vulnerable, and the clear charge. Like, it's nuts.
It's silly. And he's putting slow on everybody, giving his entire team speed up. So you're lapping the enemy. So that's just another reason why walking into the Extreme team when they have their ults available is just a bad idea, exposed or not. Like, that's kind of scary.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, and then we got the big purple man himself. I guess he's kind of blue here.
Yeah, Apocalypse. I mean, how much conversation do you need? It's Apocalypse. He's the second best one to bring up, right behind obviously Super Skrull, right? Like,
yeah,
he's going to be good and in the meta for a very long time because he's always going to have 60% max health. No matter if characters have 20 million health, it will still be 60% targets max health. Period, plain and simple.
Yep.
That will keep him in the meta, and I think that's a credit to Scopely of it being able to keep him in the meta for probably the longest out of anybody. I mean, obviously time will tell, but I think that'll keep him in the meta for 4, 5, 6 years to come. His special is awesome. I think eventually we're going to make him a raider once his damage starts falling off, because his special puts out vulnerables. His ult hitting everybody will put out more vulnerables. His basic, his primary and adjacent will put out more vulnerables. So I think just like with how we've done with Icarus and Dormammu, they were originally strikers. Now they're better as raiders because there's other people that are better to take those striker attacks. But dude, he's awesome. The ability block, the primary and adjacent, offense down, defense down, putting vulnerables out. His ult, obviously, with the buff flips, trauma. His passive with the dropping him below 50% turn meter health, and then he gets the turn meter, makes him a threat always.
Yep.
I mean, there's not enough good things you can say about him. His passive also gives allies max health and damage, if I'm not mistaken. Like, his kit's nuts. His kit is so good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's that percentage damage you always have to harken back to, because even a character like Skrull, if there starts coming characters in the game that say, hey, no more speed bar manipulation whatsoever, Sus is going to be a lot slower. He's going to be at 124. He's going to be easy to control at that point. But Apocalypse, if he reaches his first turn and then he just gets the Falcon Punch you on his next turn, that's going to nuke somebody. So I can 100% see where Apocalypse, I don't think he'll outlast Skrull, but I can see a world where he just keeps pace with Skrull for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I think Skrull is just
too good.
In general, Skrull, so honestly, I actually don't think he's too good. I think he was too good when he first came out, which is fine, right? Because he needs to be too good. He needs to give people the reward of unlocking him. I think now we're finding a lot of tools to counter him, because when people see Skrull on CC defense, it's not just, well, I gotta sack this now no matter what. So, like, there's options now. I think we do need more options, because right now it's just Apocalypse or your own Skrull, right?
Yeah.
But that's what makes Apocalypse so good. He is the Skrull killer, which is why diamonds are going to be needed on him when Super Skrull gets those red stars, or you won't kill him. You just won't one-shot him anymore.
True. And so here's the silver lining in my, I hate Skrull, but here's the silver lining with Skrull.
I know.
They've had to start releasing characters that don't spawn with too many buffs on spawn, and reworking characters in the same way. So that's why the Hive Mind rework is so interesting. They don't spawn with any buffs. They get a very quick ability block, and then they get another ability block on top of it. So it's a very interesting way to kind of flip the meta on its head, because the meta right now, it's like everyone has speed on spawn, everyone has defense up on spawn, everyone has safeguard on spawn, everyone has blah 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 on spawn. But now with Super Skrull, it gives them this window where they can start making other characters that don't. I like that. Anyway, let's wrap this up with the Gambit.
Oh, yeah, Gambit. Man, what a great idea, Scopely. Let's give everybody a 3-diamond Gambit, shall we? Like, just everybody who finished Kyle, sorry. Kyle, you got to finish it, right? But, I mean, I finished it. I bit the bullet, and I took Venom and Carnage, because I actually only had enough Origin gear to take up 2. And I was like, if I'm going to do it, it might as well be Venom and Carnage. Yeah. And I don't regret that. Venom's an absolute unit. But Gambit is Gambit's so good. His pings every turn are so good. He does so much damage. Having that charge mechanic, giving the speed up to the allies, the X-Men allies in every game mode, or in Crucible and raids now, is really nice. His damage stat getting upgraded a little bit was nice as well. His ult absolutely devastates now with 3 diamonds. Like, if he ults, that is a my team's gonna die, like, immediately. And then putting Disrupt as well. Like, he's a really good character. And now it's made it so, like, if Sunspot's with him, he never has to basic anymore. It's just specials over and over and over and over again. Yeah. So they're always getting those extra buffs, which makes him really good. So the team always has speed up, which speed up is probably one of the best buffs in the game.
Oh yeah.
Because speed is the king. If you're going first, you're probably going to win, right? Like, that's how it's always been. That's why Emma is still in the meta after 4 years. Like,
yeah,
it's always going to be king.
Especially with the damage stat, right? The damage stat the Extreme has,
yeah.
if they're taking more turns than you, good luck.
Yeah, exactly. And then he drops below 50%, and then he stealths, so you can't keep focusing him, So, like, it's just another little caveat to make him even harder. And then he's got the lifesteal and the ping, so he gets up above 50% again. And then by the time you can get to him, he's at 80% health, and you can't nuke him. So, I mean, Gambit got a great rework. Like, he is nuts now.
Yeah, like we were talking about Nightcrawler with a 3.5 million life. Like, Gambit's not that far behind him at 3.2.
Yep.
It's like, oh my boy. Very scary character. I bet Ton is happy about it. He's an iconic character for sure.
Absolutely.
And the idea that him and Rogue down the line, they could always then be put on another team. Like we talked about with Cyclops being like always in the conversation for a rework. The popularity behind Gambit and Rogue would put them in that exact conversation as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with your list. I don't know who else I could slot in there instead. Definitely no Unlimited. Definitely no Death Seed. Wolverine probably gets a rework at some point because he's so iconic.
Yep.
Phoenix.
Hopefully with the Deadpool movie. Hopefully with the Deadpool movie.
Well, I guess that's a conversation to have, right? With Pandapool getting voted in, Deadpool might be maybe working his way into this conversation as well, or maybe Pandapool. Maybe Pandapool is going to be a mutant for whatever reason, right? So
right, yeah, it could be like they said it was like a Mercs for Hire team. I couldn't remember the exact name for it, but like that just screams Deadpool.
Yeah.
And then who is the co-star in the Deadpool movie? Wolverine.
Yeah.
And like, dude, it color me happy because Wolverine, I got a 2 diamond on him. If he gets reworked, color me happy. 2 diamonds on him and taking him up to 95 gear 18, I got no problem because I got enough adamantium to take 7 Wolverines to gear 18. All right, because adamantium, no one good uses that. So.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I agree with you. And Wolverine's so fun when he hits his ultimate
really
and shreds people to pieces. It's fun.
Yeah, him ulting in war, taking off that death proof, and just absolutely deleting somebody for like 2.4 million health on a crit is just so fun to watch. And the animation's really cool too. So. I don't know. I would love to see a Wolverine and Deadpool rework on that new team.
Yeah, me too. All right, guys, that's going to be it for Mutants. We're now going to head on over to Mystic. We took a little bit of extra time. That's because the conversation was good. Conversation was flowing. But we're going to rip through Mystic very quickly.
Absolutely.
Weaver, Quicksilver, Robbie Reyes, Doom. Do we need to argue that? We got charges on the Weaver, make it so you can't hit, with a turn 1 stun and trauma. Hard to beat that. She's paired with 2099, which she is not super fast. She's in that same sort of ballpark as Rogue at 127, but you can get her 20% speed bar by pairing her with somebody else. And her damage is nutty. Not much to say there, right? Crucible viable, War viable. When maybe Apocalypse gets kicked out of the arena meta, all of a sudden she's arena meta as well because people will forget about her charges. Quicksilver takes 2 turns, strips charges off, puts a plethora of debuffs down. He ultimates hitting the entire team for 500% piercing, just like we talked about with Gambit, just like we talked about with Nightcrawler, just insane damage, lots and lots of debuffs, and he's also has that health trigger where he drops below a certain life pool. He's like, oh, by the way, bye-bye, and he goes away, and Scarlet Witch comes and heals him up, and he gets death-proof, and then he survives, and then he kills you. I can't tell you how many times.
That's your favorite mechanic, right? That's your favorite mechanic?
Health triggers are out of control in this game. It makes absolutely no sense. I'm gonna jump down to Doom at this point. Doom, we're gonna need him for DD7 anyway. He's all kit based now. I'd say like his damage can be very good, especially if he's hitting the defense down. But let's be real, he's mostly kit based now. He's gonna bring himself to do vulnerables and flip buffs, and then your highest damage character basically means like whenever the next big character comes, whenever the next Silver Surfer comes, the next Nightcrawler, the next Quicksilver, the next Kang, whatever that character is, Doom is going to elevate them, giving them 3 turns, letting them go crazy. And again, hey, guess what? He's got a health trigger. So when he drops below 50% life, he's going to get his speed bar and get energy, and then he's going to ult turn 1. So very viable character. Now we get into the more interesting conversations. The Robbie Reyes, I love Robbie Reyes. Kind of like a Skrull in a way. Anytime a bleed gets out, he's just like, oh, by the way, Sonic could go fast, and I am now Sonic. He gets in his car, when he sees somebody bleeding, he runs them over. He's just taking so many turns, so much debuff, so much bleeds. How do you feel about Robbie Reyes and the team? I argue that I think he is more valuable on the team than Black Cat. Black Cat mechanically may do a lot of more interesting things with like another stun trauma turn 1, with removing buffs, making sure you can't get rewound. But Robbie Reyes, he's the one dropping nukes.
Yeah, like you said, the conversation gets more interesting. I think this is a no-brainer choice.
Yeah.
This is like the second I clicked Mystic, I went Robbie. Cool.
Yeah.
Next, like that was my first one on Mystic. He is, dude. His turn meter mechanic with the bleeds makes him plug and play viable.
Yep.
After his team falls out of favor, and his bleeds hit like a freight train when he's large and got that Striker 5. His passive is probably the best part of his kit, honestly, and not a lot of people talk about his passive. Him breathing fire, taking out positive effects off everybody, putting more bleeds is so good. It's so strong.
This is also where he does Disrupt, too, which will stop an enemy like Hard Light or a lot of the characters that love Disrupt, like the Undying team. It really messes with the Undying team.
Yeah, Robbie is probably one of the best designed characters, but honestly, I don't feel like he's unfair, which is a credit to Scopely. I feel like he is a great character, but it's not like, oh, there's a Robbie there. I gotta treat him like Super Skrull now. I have to delete him. But like he is just such a good character, and he's gonna stay in for a while because of that bleed mechanic for sure.
Oh, yeah, he could jump in with the Undying team. He could jump in with a team like Icarus and Big Time, where Big Time will target somebody who has regens, flip the regens, activate Robbie. Robbie will do an ability block, put more bleeds out, defense down. Icarus will come in and annihilate people. There's a lot of different ways we can play with Robbie Reyes in the future, which I think is very, very interesting.
I wonder if we can slot him in, like drop Dagger and then slot him in on New Warriors, so the Firestar ult gets like 12 bleeds, and then Robbie just goes on the ride.
And then Deathpool spreads them. Deathpool spreads them, so it's even more. 100%, I would think so.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Kind of scary when you think about it. This one I did kind of struggle with. Now, he does a lot of damage. Yeah, here's the thing. Just like Doom, he is a no-brainer because of DD7, right? Just for that alone. He was a stat machine. He's no longer the stat machine he was, but if he does reach his ultimate, it's crazy. He is one of 3 characters with a turn 1 stun trauma, but he's a little bit slower to the upkeep. You need to build a team around Dormammu to facilitate him to actually take his turns. Right now, the way everybody uses Dormammu is as a revive on spawn for the team. That's the way people are using him, and then he's a side threat, which normally you just kind of get through it either by turn meter rewinds that just happen to adjacent or all enemies, or he just instantly dies if like an Icarus gets a double tap on a minion or something, and then Dorm is just off the field. But just because of DD7, just because if he does reach his ultimate, and maybe, just maybe, building him up when everyone else has their characters level 95 can help him get to his abilities and absolutely ruin people. It's been a long time since I've had value from him doing his special, the value from those charges, the value from him ulting. And maybe I'm a little bit biased because he's ended up on defense a lot lately just because I haven't been able to find that use for him in Crucible or War on the offensive side.
Yeah, he's on defense for me in Crucible as well. I've been putting him with Gamma actually, and it's been soaking either big teams or it's been getting a win, honestly. And my Gamma is not that big. I only took Red Hulk to 95. The rest are 90 because I didn't really see a point to it, and I was like, I'd rather save for newer teams. But I feel like Dormammu is always going to be a really good plug and play addition to a team because of the revives. And then people are saying, oh, well, a lot of people are coming in and stripping revives on spawn, like Black Cat and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, but then you got to use Black Cat against the whole Dormammu team, and it could be Dormammu and 4 idiots, and then you're wasting Black Cat on him just to take the revive off. And then, like you said, with the ultimate, that's just a complete game changer. If he gets to his ultimate, you've already lost, whether it's efficiency or you're going to die.
Yeah.
So, like, him getting to his ultimate, it's almost like a ticking time bomb like Red Hulk. You just can't let it happen. You just can't, because his ult shreds damage-wise. His ult does a lot of damage, even though he's a support character.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I agree. I wouldn't put Dormammu with a team like... I wouldn't put him with a team like Secret Defenders. I wouldn't put him with a team like Extreme. Well, I do right now, but I wouldn't do that in the future. I'd put him with like a B tier team to pull an A tier team to beat them, kind of thing. So I agree with that. All right, now we're gonna maybe we will start getting a little bit sketchy here. I got Icarus on my list. I think Icarus. He's the old glass cannon meta. If he hits his ultimate and gets a kill, he's going to be double tapping, but it's not really the double tap I'm in love with anymore. It's the 500% extra focus, flipping all the buffs. It's the turn meter rewind, and then it's his special. When he comes in and he hits into deflex, he's doing multiple hits. It's piercing damage, and I've seen him just completely obliterate Pegasus members when the team was 2.5 million. He's just like, oh, you have a deflect? Oh, by the way, you just killed your 2 other teammates because now I'm hitting 3 of you. I'm hitting multiple times. Hasta la vista, and he's gone.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, I don't ever think they're gonna get reworked because of how bad that movie tanked, but we'll see. I mean, people love the Eternals, at least in this game, so I believe the developers take that into account. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Icarus? And like, I assume you're still using him every day.
Yeah, no, I use him in I make sure to use them in Cosmic Crucible. They've become like they were when the season started. They were the Death Seed killer, right?
Yeah.
You would just run speed and Death Seed, destroy them. When people were running Pegasus, when Pegasus came out, everybody was just destroying Pegasus with them. And now they've been kind of relegated to take out Infinity Watch really quickly with the big time Spider-Man and 2 other people to make it a pretty great combo, honestly.
Yeah.
And then just Icarus is always going to be really good because it only takes Icarus and Cersei. And then you could put 3 other really good characters to augment them, right?
Yeah.
So, Icarus with the turn meter rewind, Cersei with the turn meter rewind, Icarus with the buff flip, the double tap if there's a Greg on the field or, like you said, a weaker character for whatever it is. Like, we're double tapping off the Nebula in Cosmic Crucible right now.
Yeah.
So, like, he is a great character. His damage is starting to fall off, but he's 2 years old, a year and a half. He's up there in age in the MSF land. So the fact that we're still getting value and he's even in the conversation is a testament to how good he really is as a toon.
Yeah, his kid is crazy. I would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Morgan Le Fay. So Morgan Le Fay, the Darkhold team, definitely falling off. There's so many counters to them in War. There's starting to be many more counters to them in Crucible as well, especially with that Tangled Web catcher coming in and just cleaning their clock super quickly. But I see a lot of value in Morgan Le Fay starting to be a plug-and-play character. Same with Red Hulk. So I'm starting to see this like vision of a Horseman-esque team coming, and in that Horseman team, Morgan Le Fay is going to be phenomenal, right? With her buff flips or her turn meter rewind if they don't have buffs on the ultimate, then her completely turn meter rewind negation for the entire field, but then she gives her Horseman and Apocalypse speed up. Her safeguard on spawn is really nice. Her life that she gets, and then of course the resistance, the 100% resistance to Horseman characters would make them. It'd be harder to control the Red Hulk. People will forget about that 100% resistance. They'll go to land an ability block on the Red Hulk with a character. I don't know, like Spider-Woman, maybe Venom, maybe Vision. Who knows who the character would be? They get resisted, they get mad. Red Hulk all of a sudden pops off because you were trying to ability block him on his 4th charge. And then the basic, absolutely just shredding people to pieces, especially with her as a striker, stealing 10% health from the primary target, even though it's not max health, it's just health. Keep that in mind. I see a world where Morgan Le Fay definitely gets some plug-and-play use outside of her team in this year, 2024, for sure. What do you think?
Fascinating. I looked at Morgan Le Fay and went, nah, and just kept on scrolling to look for other people.
Yeah.
You make good points though. Like, her kit is insane. Like, her kit's always been really good. When she first came out, people were like, what?
Yeah.
What's Apocalypse going to be able to do to overshadow this? So like, her ult is always good. Her special, that rewind mechanic, and then if you have like a Quicksilver on your team, that special is nuts because it doesn't affect Quicksilver. So then everybody gets rewound and Quicksilver's still at full turn meter, which is really a really cool mechanic. I love that so much.
That interaction is dope, yeah.
Yeah, that interaction is probably one of my favorites that Scopely put into the game. I think that's so cool. I just don't know if she's going to continue, or like what team she'd be good on, because like a full Horseman team has never been really a thing, like in Cosmic Crucible, War, anything like that. It's just never been worth it to break up 4 teams to be able to pull that off. Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting to see if like that ends up coming into a meta of like a Cosmic Crucible where they, get a Horseman room and they're like, you know what, put every Horseman in here, have fun. Kind of thing, that'd be kind of cool. Like, it would be interesting because they're such iconic characters to the game because they made them pillars for the a year and a half of this game. Mm-hmm. But Morgan Le Fay, listen, as her stats get bigger, her striker attack does better as well. Her basic does that drain mechanic, so she is a great character. Probably not on my radar, maybe now, but I don't know. She's on the fence for me for sure.
Let me run a room rule Crucible by you. Legendary characters and mythic characters spawn with offense up. Spawn with speed up. Okay, well, here we go, right? Because then you'd have the Apocalypse as the mythic character, the Horseman. I can definitely see something like that coming down the future. Not that it's coming this patch.
Hypothetically, right? Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, definitely not this patch. Definitely not this patch. All right, we're going to end this off. The 3 new warriors. I have all of them on my radar. Basically because I'm a Crucible fiend. You had Firestar. I got these 3. I don't have Dagger. Dagger doesn't make this list because she's the first subbed out. She's also the easiest to control. Like if you're using them against the limited team, she's always getting the ability blocked or stunned. She's not like programmed to get those, but she just gets them because she's like, hey, I'm slow as molasses. Control me before I ult or even before I special. But these three characters, like you talked about Firestar, having her do extra damage on the bleeds is huge. And same thing with Deathpool. Deathpool is a striker. The bigger she is, she's spreading those bleeds from Firestar, which is then going to turn them into her bleeds, which then makes them hit extra hard. I like that. The Gwenpool, we had a little back and forth on this one. The Gwenpool ultimate, being the perma kill that it is, that's why I like her to be a little bit stronger. Because I really want that perma kill to actually work. It's only in Crucible offense, I should say. And then the Cloak. Cloak, he's not a super big damage character, so I had a hard time putting him on this list, but I do want him to land his disrupt. It's a 4% increase. Now that I think about how the damage stats work, I think I'd take Cloak off, and I think I'll put Black Panther 1 million on there. I think that was an error in judgment on my part. Black Panther 1 million, an amazing war character, absolutely shredding characters apart, and in Crucible, he is on my, like, 7th or 8th Crucible offense team, kind of on a cleanup team, or if I see a very small team where they're trying to pinch me with like a super mega team and spread me a little bit thin, so they have like an interesting new Avengers there or a smaller Infinity Watch, my War Dogs can go over there and I beat them in 6 turns because of how big they are. But yeah, what are your thoughts on well, I know your thoughts on New Warriors. You love the New Warriors, right?
Yeah, I love New Warriors. Honestly, like if I had to go in order, I would say Deathpool would be first for sure because of the pings. I also have a 3 diamond, so I'm extra biased on her. I pulled a 3 diamond on her, and her pings are nuts. And I don't even have her at gear 18 yet because Miasma has been going to Dormammu and Doom.
Fair enough.
Gwenpool needs to live to make Deathpool work, right? Yeah. So I feel like Gwenpool and Firestar are the next two. Firestar second, and then Gwenpool third because of that charge mechanic. And I've seen a lot of times where Gwenpool's got that taunt and then Black Cat just ults and she's just gone. Yeah. She's gone. And it's like, it's so deflating because it's like, wow, this is going to take another 8 turns to get through the Ms. Marvel Hardlight to be able to kill her because the Ms. Marvel Hardlight has so much armor. Now I can't perma-kill anybody kind of thing. Yeah. So having a big Gwen is really good. And honestly, I've noticed watching your Cosmic Crucibles and other people who have big Gwen pools, her ult slaps, dude. Her ult can crit for like 800k, which is pretty good, and a permakill, like you said. I've seen you've been using them against Infinity Watch, which like on my watch, I'm like, I would never try this in a million years. But like you got a 2 million New Warriors, and they're decimating Infinity Watch and taking off those revives with the permakills and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely on my radar for sure.
Right on. And then Black Panther 1 million. I know this is like a very niche pick for someone like me who has my War Dogs at 2.2 million. Like my War Dogs are one of my biggest teams ever, so it just makes sense for me to keep going. But
that's great. They're 1.2 million bigger than mine, just for reference there. But you love war, right? And they're still a great war team. They are still really, really good, and they're staying as a good war team. Like they're probably your 7th, maybe 8th best war offense team. Yeah, maybe even a little bit higher. But like they're staying in favor because of his ultimate right here, stealing all those positive effects, spreading them to allies, and also the Nakia pings are absolutely nuts when she's high up there. I know a lot of people love Nakia because of those pings, but like his special, if you rebound between 2 people back to back, those 2 people are either going to die or they're going to be very close to death because the defense down and then pinging back and forth, his damages are really, really good.
Yeah, especially when he's got that piercing, for sure.
The piercing is the big thing. Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for our Mutant and Mystic list. Again, make sure you go in the description below. Check out Dulom's channel. You're definitely going to want to watch the episode of Who Wants to Be an MSFer that just came out, as well as the one where somebody might have made an appearance and crushed it. Still waiting on my mug, Run. Where's the mug? All right.
Oof.
Dulom, I know I've kept you past your you got to work time, so I won't keep too long. Anything you want to say to the people?
No, that's it. As of recording this, it's what is it, January 26th. I know this video is probably going to go up in the afternoon. I got Pathfinder on the game show tonight.
Nice.
On my Twitch, so it'll be around 9 o'clock Eastern because he's got kiddos to put to sleep. But Pathfinder is always an awesome guy to have around. He's extremely, extremely funny for those who haven't seen like his personality a lot. He's a very funny guy. And I've got some really cool questions. I changed the rules up a little bit, so you got to come out to see how the rules are a little bit different. But I'm super excited to have Pathfinder on.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that. All right, guys, come hang out on Twitch to watch Who Wants to Be an MSFer with Dulom and Pathfinder. And if you don't catch it live, make sure you check out the video that will go up on YouTube. Links to both of those channels will be in the description below. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tonight. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man.
No worries. Appreciate you. All right, bye, guys.
Later.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.